right, guys, what's up? So I am here with Dave Closson, and Dave's been around for a while. You've been in this group for a long time, Dave. But well, what 10 or 11 months? We decided that's how long this has been. But he asked me the other day, like, "Hey, why don't you let somebody interview you sometime so that everybody can get a perspective, kind of where you're coming from, and we could answer some questions and stuff like that." So I said, "Well, who better to interview me than you, Dave? Because this is what you do for a living. I mean, you wrote a book on it." So, guys, here's Dave Closson. He's going to run with this, and we're just going to see where it goes.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? Leave it to me. I love asking questions, and I've been dying to just dive into this leader of men, the structure master, and unpack your brain a little bit.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
And if you
all
notice,
right.
I'm in my pickup truck because I wasn't fully prepared for today. So I'm in my truck. So hopefully the sound audio, it sounds all right.
Yeah, coming through loud and clear, loud and
Awesome.
clear. All right, groovy. But yeah, I think I want to say I jumped in the Structure U group. It was probably about 10, 11 months ago, about this time last year. I started seeing you kind of just sharing publicly on your Facebook what you're doing with your life, how you're living your life, and why you're living that way. If we rewind a little bit, let's say 6 months to a year before that, so like a year and a half ago, where were you at then? What was going on in your life?
Yeah, that's a good question because as soon as you ask that question, it takes me back there and I get feelings, the little butterflies in my stomach because I knew um, at that point I had just addressed a lot of issues in my life. So I've shared this publicly, but I wasn't happy with the way that my life was going. I had looked into the future 5, 10 years, and I saw the trajectory of my life. And I thought to myself, like, dude, this isn't good. Like, I do not like the way this is going because for a long time I'd been what I thought was a normal dude. I was, Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the ways of the world. And I was conforming to every way of the way a dude should be. I was partying with all my buddies, use the sailor language all the time. Now I still have a little bit of the bad tongue. I've got a little bit of a sailor tongue, but not like I used to, and so like hanging out with my buddies, talking that way. My wife says, I don't want to have sex tonight. No big deal. I'll just watch some porn, take care of it myself. Going out to the bars and the way that I was speaking to my wife and the attitude that I had towards her and towards my kids wasn't what I wanted. And the business that I was running wasn't as successful as I thought it could be. So yeah, like a year and a half to 2 years ago, I addressed these issues and I worked one on one with a guy for 90 days that kind of put me in check. I had to check the ego and I thought I saw the writing on the wall, like I said previously, about where my life was going and I didn't like it. So I'm like, dude, Mike Newhart needs to have a 180 or else his life's not going to be this. And so, like I said, whenever I addressed this to my wife, I thought she was leaving me. Like when I said, dude, I'm going to work with this guy so I'll never watch porn again. I won't, be out gambling because I was lying to my wife. I was gambling, doing all these types of things. And I was like, this isn't the life that she deserves. And it's not the life that I deserve. And I told her initially, I said, I'm getting this help, not necessarily for you or for the kids or for anything else, but for me personally, because I'm not happy internally. And for me to show up 100% for you in our marriage and for my kids, like I've got to be happy internally. And so that's whenever the whole process of everything started rolling around. And like I said, that was probably a year and a half ago. And then I spent a lot of time in prayer asking God, where do you want me? Like, what do you want me to do? And so for a whole year, I felt like I was in limbo, just kind of just cruising around, not knowing what I was doing. And it's a weird story, but I just got done like working out and I was laying in a bathtub. So I was really sore. So, I was just chilling in the bathtub, taking a hot soak and Structure U just kind of hit me in the forehead, Structure U. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to start a Facebook group called Structure U. And so in this process of Mike Newhart changing, what it was is like the Jocko Willink book, discipline equals freedom. I had to change my entire life and be very disciplined about it, creating morning routines, uh, daily routines, evening routines that I had to focus on and to a T, so I knew that my life would just go smoothly in every area. And just like that book called Atomic Habits, getting 1% better was what I was focused on. And now, as I look back almost 2 years, like my whole life, the trajectory of it is now on a path where who knows where it's going to end up. But I'm being obedient and trying to lead with a servant heart because, I don't want anybody to come in here and be like, dude, who's this guy think he is? Because I'm in here like, dude, I want you to join me because I've got this sense of freedom now from all these disciplines that I have that I want everybody to be a part of and understand that, you can have the ultimate marriage. You can be that present father for your kids. Your business can have ultimate success. You can do and have anything you want in the world, but you have to be disciplined to get there. And if you've got to really have that desire and that vision and that want to change. So long story short, that's where I was at, and this is where we're going.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got so many questions. I hope you're ready.
Let's go.
But I'll definitely second that discipline equals freedom. And you really got to unpack. I mean, first you got to read the book to really understand it, but it's that freedom, that sense of freedom that you just can't really even put it into words. And the thought that it comes from discipline might be counterintuitive at the beginning, but man, it is spot on.
Yes,
But
100%. And at first I didn't even understand what that meant. Discipline equals freedom until you start living it. And you're like, dude, this is good.
absolutely, absolutely. But all right, so you used a word a couple different times throughout just now, and I want to go back to it. Feelings.
Oh
Started
yeah.
out, you're feeling unhappy by the life
Yep.
you were living.
We as
So,
guys don't want to talk about feelings. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm. Yep.
But and a lot of this goes back to, so with my personal stuff, it went way back to childhood days, and I think as young men we're told, don't show emotions, don't talk about your feelings. We're supposed to be men. Like we're tough, we're hard, we do hard things. But when I was working with this coach, he said, Mike, here's what I want you to do every single day. I want you to write down, when you first wake up, write down 3 feelings that you feel, and then also opposite of that, right, the very first time you remember feeling that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to wake up because it's Friday. I remember when I first got excited whenever I would go swimming at my grandparents' house, so stuff like that. But I said, well, how long do I need to do this exercise? And he said, well, I want you to do this as long as it takes. And he said, and you'll know when. So it was legit 8 months to the day. Something clicked in my head and I was like, dude, I can feel feelings now, because for so long we just numb ourselves to feelings and having feelings. But Jimmy Valvano, the old who was he, North Carolina State's basketball coach, said, if you don't cry, laugh, get mad, and experience all these emotions throughout the day, then you're not living. And there's a lot of truth to that. And now, like in my relationship with my wife, like she cries, but I'm kind of the crier. Like you put on some good music, I'll be the one to cry. Good movie, I'll be the one to cry. And like now I'm in tune with my emotions and my feelings. And that's a good place to be, because you can express yourself, you can communicate better with your spouse, with your kids. So yeah, that's my thought on feelings, and I want all of them,
Yeah.
because
Sides.
how many of us
Yeah.
numb, whether it's with alcohol, with drugs, we numb our feelings because we're running from something. And I just watched the movie Braveheart the other day, when William Wallace says, I want to feel all the feelings, and I'm like, yes, I love
Yes.
that. I want to feel them.
Yes. Quick side story, because then I got another feelings question for you. When I got back from Iraq, I was actually at a funeral and I looked around and saw everybody was emotional and I was just there feeling numb. And that was
Mm,
kind of my light bulb moment. And so I got to work, and it kind of came in levels. First, I
yeah.
had to understand what my feelings were and let myself know that it's okay to feel those feelings. Then
Yep.
that next level was learning how to talk about them, how to share them in a healthy way. Because yeah, it is not easy.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't like doing
Definitely.
that.
Right?
And even now, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion, because I'm still learning about myself every day. That
Mhm.
you can have as much or as little as you want. You just got to peel back those layers.
You ever have a day where you're just like in a funk, for lack of a better word, and you just kind of you realize it, like, I'm just feeling off today. And so you just unpack that and kind of like, well, why am I feeling this way? What's stressing me out? What's making me anxious? And once you dig through that and you get that clarity, ain't no thing.
Yep. No, I don't have those
Definitely.
days. Never.
Yeah,
You know,
never,
yeah,
never.
you see some of these big guys like the Tony Robbins, like, how does that guy stay motivated all the time? Or how does he do this? But that's not the case. We're all exactly the same. We all have stuff in our lives that, some days you're like, I don't want to get out of bed today, and yeah, it's like, what's causing the stress? And I think that what's very important too is journaling. Whenever you
Mhm.
journal these things out and write down, like, well, why am I feeling this? Well, what's triggering me right now in this moment? And you can start to feel, why you're feeling those things and what's causing that. But yeah, I mean, because somebody asked me today, it's like, well, I don't want to talk to you every day so I can stay motivated. And I said, that's a recipe for disaster, because I'm not motivated every day. But
Mhm.
because of discipline keeps me on the right path, because I know that even if I'm having a bad day, I tell my kids this all the time. Like, if you're having a bad day or something's not going right, you can make the decision right now to change that. And my one daughter says, I'm going to turn my dinosaur around. They always go up their ears, like, I'm going to turn my dinosaur around, or I'm going to turn my unicorn around, and we're going to turn around on the road, and we're going to go the other way. So it's the
Yeah.
same thing in our lives. Like, if I'm having a bad day, I can be like, dude, it's kind of sucked so far today, but now
Mhm.
that I'm acknowledging it, I'm bringing it to light. Like, now it's time to turn this around, ready to rock and
Mhm.
roll.
Yep.
But yeah, we all have days.
Gives you that power, that control over your life and your feelings, which I just love it.
Yes.
Yeah. So continuing along this feelings conversation, a year and a half ago when you were still working through stuff and unhappy, what was it like for you? Say you went out with the guys, and odds are I probably was there too on a Friday or Saturday night drinking. Um, that next morning, that next day, you said you weren't happy. What was that like? Tell me more. What was unhappy like on those days?
Unhappy for me was just a feeling or a sense of unfulfilled. Like, even now in my life, I know that there are things I do that it's just not fulfilling. And then
Mhm.
the older I get, and back in the day of partying, I didn't know necessarily difference, because I knew deep down, but I was still living it, because I didn't
Mhm.
have any other way. I couldn't see the end of the road, or I couldn't turn it around. I didn't really have any direction in my life. But just being unfulfilled wasn't good for me. It wasn't
Mhm.
good enough feeling. I wanted to be fulfilled. I wanted to have that bucket filled up. And so
Mhm.
once I made that decision, I was like, something's got to change, or it's going to change. My wife, my kids, they're not going to be part of my life. My business is going to fail. Like, if I don't change now, it's going to change,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm. I feel you there. For me, I finally started to realize that it wasn't just a hangover from the alcohol. It was an emotional hangover. And when I dug into my own sense of feeling that helped me sort of turn that corner and start making change was that I felt like I let myself down. I was really just disappointed in myself. Like, Dave, you can do better. Like, that's not who you are. And that's what got me towards, yeah, let's be a Dave.
Yeah. And how many times you have to wake up feeling like that, hungover? Dude, I'm so embarrassed what I did last night. Like, yeah, that was not fulfilling to me. And having to call people, hey, sorry for being a drunk idiot last night. Sorry if I tore
Mhm.
something up or made somebody mad. Yeah, it wasn't fun.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So you've brought up your marriage, your kids, family, and I'm looking forward to having a family of my own. But
Mm,
tell me what it's been like being married and a father as you've been making these positive changes and adding more structure to your life.
for sure. So even before I even got married, before I had a girlfriend, I'd started my exterior cleaning business, and I knew before that I wanted to have freedom to take my kids to a zoo on a Tuesday afternoon if I wanted to.
Mhm.
So I always had that vision in my head. However, I didn't realize that because of my dependency issues, I guess, on the gambling, the porn, all this other stuff, that it would affect my life in a way that it did. But so once I addressed those things to my spouse, And not that we had a terrible marriage ever, or I was bad dad, but I wasn't living up to my potential. I knew that my wife deserved a better husband. I knew that my kids deserved a better father. Um, and somebody asked me, would you ever want your daughters to date somebody like you? Hell no. No, I don't. And then that was kind of like a light bulb moment. I need to be better. I need to do better. But now, since I've made these changes, and it wasn't just myself. Like, as soon as I started this journey, for whatever reason, something clicked in my wife's head, and she's like, I need to be better too. So we've been on this spiritual journey of just putting God first in our lives, getting our priorities straight, putting God first, then our marriage, then our kids. We've put everything in order. And now to say that my marriage is better than it ever has been is an understatement. Like, it's just amazing whenever you get on the same page with your spouse, how much better it can be, and especially like in communication. You always hear people say, "Oh, you got to communicate, you got to communicate," but it's like, it sounds cliche, but it's so true. Like this morning, I told my wife, I need to be here by noon, and I got a call at 1:15, and then we're doing this Goggins challenge. I'm going to be gone for this, and she was like, "Dude, I just want to get my nails done," and I'm like, "It's really selfish of me." And so I said, "Here's the deal. I'll cancel my lunch so that you can go do that." And she's like, "No, actually, I'm being selfish here because I want to get my nails done. You're in this to now help other men and other things and being a leader of men, that I'm being selfish. So I'm going to cancel this appointment so that you can go do this." And I'm like, and then I kind of felt guilty. I'm like, well, I'll make sure this house is clean by the time you get home, but it's like that level of communication that we never had in the past. And now we're both thinking selflessly of how we can help each other. And so, dude, our marriage is now better than ever has been. And even the relationship with my kids, being that more present father, knowing that I'm not lying to their mom, or I'm being a good example, not talking negatively towards their mom, or telling just rude, crude jokes, or just being offensive, stuff like that. So no, on that level, like, dude, life is good. And I just want to continue, because marriage is very, very important to me. I thought at some point in my life it was a matter of time before I got divorced. If I kept living my life the way it was just, my parents were divorced, her parents were divorced. It's in the cards. We're going to get divorced. And, statistically speaking, we should be divorced because we were living together before we were married, premarital sex, doing all these things. It's like, yeah, we should be a number, but, God is now using us and our tests and our messes to turn into our message. And so we've kind of flipped the script, and we're like, nah, we're not just a number. We are something. We are children of God, and we're going to use this to our advantage.
I dig it. And absolutely communication. And for me, as a new husband, I always, when it comes to communicating with my wife, I start with listening.
Yes.
Always. But what
I still struggle with that, because I like to hear myself. Yeah. She's like, you just like to hear yourself talk. I'm like, I'm getting better.
Oh man, you got to be good at editing podcasts. Then you can just listen to yourself over and over again. Oh, I get that. Anyway, so yeah, I wanted to ask though, communication and getting on the same page with your wife. How do you do that? I mean, it sounds easy, but I know it's not. So what's that
sounds easy? It's not easy. And it's not, it's the same thing of having a bad day. Sometimes we don't communicate well enough. And we're like, we just got to stop. What are you trying to say so that I can understand? Draw me and like, I'm the type sometimes, like, draw me a picture, because I'm not understanding what you're saying. So just draw me a picture. Sometimes you got to spell it out. Hit me in the forehead with a 2x4. I don't care what you do, but it's trial and error. It's, and even reading that book, the 5 love languages, knowing how to talk to my wife, knowing what's going to fill her love bucket, or, fill her bucket up, it's like, and communicating doesn't just have to be talking. It's, for my wife, it's words of affirmation. So even just writing her a nice letter, dude, that's filling her up. She's loving that, doing those little things, to just better understand each other. Like you said, listening is huge, and just any form of communication. So mine's physical touch. If we're sitting on the couch together and she's rubbing up on me, like, I like that. That's cool with me, So there's so many forms of communication besides just talking, that once you're on the same page, and true what your values are. I know that her value now is to be and inspire other women. So I'm supportive of her. Being a supportive husband, sometimes that's all it takes. You know what I mean? Because sometimes as husbands, we're just kind of jerks. We're selfish. We're all selfish.
In hearing you talk about the importance of communication, I'm hearing also a strong call for vulnerability. How is that when you're the leader of the household, a man of the household, yet being vulnerable for good, effective connection with your wife?
And you know that make a good point, because like even having a young son, like I want, and in this crazy time that we're alive, you know, the things that we're teaching our kids, the things that they're seeing, you know, and I'll use this as an example. We went to a restaurant today and a guy had his fingernails painted. And I said, "Oh, I like your fingernails." And he's like, "Oh, my daughter, we did it together." And I was like, I kind of felt like a jerk. But I'm like, it's still crazy though, because my son is almost getting mixed signals. Well, do men paint their fingernails or not paint their fingernails? And so on the way home, my wife says, "Do you think that was okay the way that you spoke?" And I said, "No, it's not." And I want to acknowledge that I made a mistake in there, and I shouldn't have been judging this guy for having his nails painted.
Mhm.
But then I'm also like, I'm torn, because I want my son to understand what being a man is like, and it's not being tough and just being a man, being masculine. It's about having the feelings and understanding what it means to be a real man. And so I feel like we're in a weird time of life where you kind of got to navigate that weirdly, but also just being able to communicate with my wife and say, "Yeah, I screwed up. You know, I'm being vulnerable, and like I messed up, and I'm going to tell it to you. I'm going to tell it to the kids that I was wrong." You know, and just having that level of humility, I think, is a good thing, because yeah, we're all going to make mistakes, but if you own up to it and you take what's that other Jocko book, Extreme Ownership?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't even read that book, but I love the extreme ownership. Like once I took inventory of my life, took ownership of it, like, yeah, life's better.
I want to sneak into Barnes and Noble and take both of his books and pull them over and put them in the marriage section instead
Oh
of the leadership
yes.
section.
Exactly. Exactly.
Cool. We're running out of time. I'm going to jump off here, but I got to share something real quick. You inspired an idea. And since we're in a safe space in this group, my wife's working all weekend, 12-hour shifts, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to go out to the store. I'm going to get a card, write in it, and actually mail it to her.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Talked about writing letters, writing cards, but who doesn't love getting something in the mail too?
Dude,
Boom.
yes. And letters, dude. My wife's love languages, letters are huge. And
Mhm.
not that I enjoy writing letters, but I know that even leaving post-it notes around the house, "Hey, love you, have a
Mhm.
great day," I'll leave them in her car, you know. Those
She does
things
it for
hit.
me.
Yes, sir. I'll leave them in a gym locker so she opens up, she
Mhm.
sees them, you know, just little things like that. It's a form of communication. So
Mhm.
yeah, and marriage is super important to me. And I love it, you know. So thanks for
Yeah.
asking about that. That's
Oh,
cool.
absolutely. I could pick your brain for hours, but we'll save that one for the next one. Hey, y'all listen,
Awesome.
if you enjoyed this flipping the script, drop a comment. Let us know if we should do it again, because I'm always up to ask questions and pick Mike's brain.
Awesome. Dude, well, I have appreciated it, and thanks for doing this. Hopefully hopefully everybody enjoys it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Awesome. Sounds good. See you, Dave.